page, the Paul Harrell Program. This is the set where we shoot our Wednesday weekly videos for our Patreon subscribers. And if you want to get on board and get extra Paul Harrell Program content because you want to partner with us, you believe the show has value, you want to help us keep the show on the air, you want to help us grow the show, you want to help us make videos like this one even better, then you need to seriously think about subscribing to Patreon. It's patreon.com/thephp. That's patreon.com/thephp. Get extra content today, partner with us, and help build the Liberty Machine. We're asking you to partner with us for as little as $5 a month. Now, you can go up from there. You can go to $10 a month and get extra features, or $25 a month and become a Conduit Media Insider. But for $5 a month, you can really help us out. You can get extra content. You can see what we talk about on sets like this, and I promise you, you won't be disappointed. Thanks for watching. Back in a moment.
Paul Harrell, weekdays from 4 to 6. Learn more at paulharrell.com.
Before we get to our interview with Senator Brian King, yesterday was a terrible tragedy in Texas, and there was some coverage about this, obviously all over the media, all over the news. And believe it or not, a lot of people are looking to Arkansas to remedy when it comes to being able to arm yourself in churches. So on Fox News and their coverage, several times throughout the day, they mentioned Senator Brian King. This is what it sounded like.
Absolutely. And earlier this evening, we had talked to Arkansas State Senator Brian King because he had introduced legislation in that state called the Church Protection Act. The Church Protection Act allows churches to permit someone to carry a firearm in the church, someone that the church officiates as the official, in order to protect the church in this type of case, if indeed that is needed. And clearly with the allegations from police that it was a bystander from across the street when this guy got out of his car.
So joining us now, we have Senator Brian King on the line. Brian, good to talk to you, sir.
Hey, good to be on, Paul, but to talk about the bill, but we certainly hope it was under better circumstances, and certainly our thoughts and prayers go out to everyone affected by this evil tragedy.
I know. It's awful. I mean, the guy's a complete monster, and you know, it's I will say, you know, you hate to even get into the political gun debate at all, but it's just refreshing to hear common sense even from the White House. You know, even just to hear Donald Trump say, you know, it's a good thing there was somebody else there with a gun, or the death toll. I think it's without question the death toll would have been much, much higher.
Yeah, and one thing that the 2013 Church Protection Act was designed for was rural situations. I mean, in many counties, on Sunday, you may only have one or two deputies on call, and they may be covering 700 square miles. And this would allow, each church to designate who they wanted to carry. And it's just in those type of situations, the response time can be considerable in rural situations. I mean, it'd be bad enough if it was in a major city. And so this, like I said, no one wants to even think about these things. It's even terrible to even think that we've got to do this type of thing. But because of maybe even religious intolerance reason, or, maybe certain denominations, you have extremes on the right, left, that may not like a certain denomination or congregation. You have pastors that and churches that may be involved in a situation involving deep family issues that can cause controversy. And we also have the crime issue, which, is another failure by Jeremy Hutchison, the whole Hutchison clan, that has, let our crime situation get out of control, and all they want to do is this big talk, but things keep getting worse and worse. But you have crime situations involving churches, and so the 2013 bill basically was just to allow each church to be able to decide how they want to handle what I don't even think is a gun issue. I think of it as a security issue. Mm-hmm. And so they could either not allow any carry at all, or they could designate certain people, or they could allow anybody with a concealed permit to be able to carry.
Yeah, and I completely agree. It is a security issue. It's also something that, in my opinion, it has to do with these churches having freedom to be whatever church they want to be. If you want to post a sign out there that says no guns allowed, I mean, you can do that. I don't think many churches would, because I think common sense would say we're kind of inviting an attack here. Now, talk a little bit about, I mean, since this tragedy has happened, though, people are looking to your bill and Arkansas's efforts here, right? I mean that's why you were mentioned on Fox News so much yesterday.
Yeah, and that's what a lot of states, even what you would think is pro-carry states, were not allowing carry in churches, and we tried several times in Arkansas to do it, and we were finally able to get it passed. One thing I would
the maintenance of a free society is a very difficult and complicated thing. And it requires a self-denying ordinance of the most extreme kind. It requires a willingness to put up with temporary evils on the basis of the subtle and sophisticated understanding that if you step in to do something about them, you not only may make them worse, but you will spread your tentacles and get bad results elsewhere.
I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the Founding Fathers. We lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
You're listening to the Paul Harrell Program, brought to you by Conduit Media Group.
Hey, folks, welcome to the program. My name is Paul. Congratulations, you have found the intersection of conservative ideas and reality. We're building a liberty machine. We want you to be a part of that. One of the ways you can do that, call us, text us, 870-275-9799, or sound off on Facebook. Facebook Live, we've got the broadcast going. That's at facebook.com/Paul Talk Show. Now, interestingly enough, okay, so let me just be honest with you guys for a second, because this is all you. Our online presence and the amount of engagements that we have, and I think it has to do with the quality of guests that we're interviewing, but we have seen an uptick in our social media following. And the Facebook Live is getting more and more popular. There's no question about that. And I believe on Monday, when we interviewed Jan Morgan, I think we hit a record. But I'm not sure. I don't have that, 100%. But Joe, our board operator and producer on the other side of the glass here, he shares the video every single day on his phone. And you have recently noticed something, Joe, on the Facebook Live video when you share it on your phone that wasn't there last week, but it is there now.
It wasn't even there yesterday.
Wasn't there yesterday.
When I when I opened up my phone, I opened up the notification that it always gives me saying that Paul Harrell's live. Telling me the show's live, and it just takes me straight to the live feed.
Yeah.
So I backed out of it so I could actually share it, because when I first started sharing it, that wasn't working. So I started sharing it from the share button on the post. Well, when I backed out of it and went and found the post, it said, "Please give us your feedback," and I was like, okay. And then it said that 3 different little clickable things down at the bottom, and basically it's there's nothing wrong. And it gives us a specific instance, like something that you can report a video for, and then other. So it gives me.
Now what you're saying is Facebook is now prompting you to report the show as of doing something wrong. They're asking you, "Is everything okay here?"
Yeah, essentially, is everything okay here?
Yeah.
As if someone's reported us before, or for whatever reason.
Well, and this is obviously we knew stuff like this was going to happen. I mean, if that indeed is intentional, we don't know that it is, but you never know behind the scenes who in the establishment may be reporting the page just after the fact. You can file complain about this, complain about that, and that's just the way it goes. We have seen right now a Republican Party in this state of Arkansas that is terrified of ideas, of debating. There is now the narrative being pushed out there that Republicans criticizing other Republicans is actually going to put Democrats in office because in a primary, for example, if you have half of the Republican Party agreeing with the fact that this Republican is actually a progressive liberal, then when it comes time for the actual election, you'll have conservatives that'll stay home and the Democrat will get put into office. And that's what you've got people now predicting, this blue wave that may be coming, and people in the establishment party in Arkansas who want to retain power and keep the status quo are saying that criticizing intra-party squabbles are bad for the party. And I reject that entirely. I'm not afraid of ideas. We're not afraid of ideas. We're not afraid of debating and competing. It seems like they are. And if you really get down to the crux of what they're saying, they're afraid because they don't want to lose power. I mean, that's what it is. I don't believe what they're saying is true. I don't think that's the reality. But if you give them the benefit of the doubt, they're really just afraid that the R's are going to go back to a D. But here's the thing. It's very popular to be a Republican in the state of Arkansas right now. So the only way to actually make the state more conservative is a primary. In some of these races, there won't even be a Democrat candidate that is going to file next year. So your general election in Arkansas now at the local level is the primary. That's where you decide who's going to be, get the position of power. So, of course, primaries are the way that we make change. And anybody in the establishment that is telling you otherwise, I would just be cautious about listening to what they have to say and believing them, because it's just not the way the system is designed to work. It's designed to reflect the will of the people, and we're going to do that in a primary. That's the way it goes. Now, I want to start the beginning of the program by backtracking to what we talked about on Monday, because the Blytheville Courier-News and Mr. Tom Henry has a piece over at the Blytheville Courier-News that's out of Mississippi County, and specifically it is about Jan Morgan. The headline here, GOP feud spills over into Mississippi County. Wow. Now, let's stop here for a second and talk about that headline. This is the first mainstream media outlet to actually, I believe, most accurately so far, cover what has been going on in the party. You don't really see this. Matter of fact, you had the only people that were covering this, was it Brummett that was talking about this or somebody else? Talking about Jan Morgan's potential candidacy, and said that Ace is doing the good thing by ignoring her. And I said, well, that's not factually true. If you know what we know, we had the email from Doug Smith of the governor's office, and that's one of the reasons Jan Morgan, I believe, was emboldened to announce an exploratory committee, was because she saw that the establishment was trying to silence her. Doug Smith from the governor's office was trying to bully Mississippi County into not having the event. That's not ignoring a candidate. So we've seen instances where if anything like this does get mentioned or even briefly referred to, it's not truthful. And I don't think there may be an agenda there, but I think some of it is we've got people that just don't have the sources that Conduit Media has, quite honestly. So, headline, GOP feud spills over into Mississippi County. Tom Henry writes that a feud within the Republican Party of Arkansas has spilled over into Mississippi County amid accusations that Governor Asa Hutchinson's office has exerted pressure to keep exploratory gubernatorial candidate Jan Morgan from being able to speak in several counties, including Mississippi County. Now, this is written today. And Sebastian County on Monday disinvited Jan Morgan from their event. A Freedom of Information Act request by Courier News, that's this Blytheville outlet, of the governor's office ended with an admission of an unapproved email, but also included a refusal to comply with the request. Anytime you FOIA, I've FOIA'd the governor, and every time they call and they say, they don't like to email, they like to call, and they like to say, we're not going to, working papers. This is the governor's working papers and his staff, and we don't have to give you anything that you ask for. So they get around the FOIA in that regard. Again, Tom Henry writing, feisty Fox business commentator Jan Morgan is not one to back down from controversy, including when she banned all Muslims from her Hot Springs shooting range. Her efforts landed her on the ISIS hit list as well as into the national spotlight. But her most vigorous and public fight has been the Arkansas Governor Asa Hutchinson, primarily over gun rights in the state of Arkansas. It talks about her video, the Arkansas Times. He does a good job. He quotes Jan Morgan very well. You've heard her say this. I thought that our state was in amazing shape because we had a Republican trifecta. We had a Republican governor, Republican-led Senate, Republican-led House. So imagine my surprise when I got a call from one of our most conservative legislators, Senator Linda Collins Smith. She called me and she said, I need your help. Can you please come home and help me? And you've heard the rest. We've played it on this program before. It keeps going. Hang on, I'm skipping down here, Joe. She mentions that Asa called the Second Amendment a privilege, not a right. She mentions that she asked Asa to clarify constitutional carry in Act 746, and instead Asa said that the state police needs the money. By the way, we've got a Patriots of Act 746 segment coming up at the bottom of this hour. Morgan said it was the video that caused thousands of Arkansans to ask her to run for governor. And then we get down to, let's see here. I like this part. She said that the danger of attacking the establishment is personally more dangerous than when the FBI counterterrorism supervisor told her that ISIS is in Arkansas and that she is on their hit list. When the Courier News asked Morgan about the careful admonition, Morgan said, I expected that would happen because when you start, well, I was talking about some specific legislation where the legislative body responsible for determining which contract to accept for the Department of Human Services, they recommended one contract, and the governor did not take their advice, and he chose one that cost the state $20 million more. And there was quite a bit of upset from the legislative body that did all the research. Their point was, what are we here for if you're going to not take our advice? Who did all the homework for you and said this is where we need to go, or this is who we need to go with? So that was kind of $20 million is nothing to sneeze over. That's significant, and that is the people's money. So this admonition, okay, it is apparently, according to this article, it's not entirely sure when she started talking about this particular contract, not entirely sure where the admonition came from, but it says Morgan began to tell about the contract that was awarded over legislative objection that cost an additional $20 million. Nearly as soon as she got the price tag out of her mouth, a voice rose from the table near the stage where the state party chairman Doyle Webb sat, careful, saying, quote, careful. Then Morgan said, I'm being told to watch out. You know, I expect a lot more of that bossing around. So it goes on to say that Doyle Webb denies saying careful, quote, no, I think that she was just connecting with the community. Yeah, I stay neutral in all of this stuff, end quote. That's what Doyle Webb says. So Doyle Webb says he's not the one that shouted careful when Jan Morgan started talking about this DHS contract that Asa went around the legislature to award. All right? We go on. Keep going down. They talk about the emails. When asked by the Courier News about any emails applying pressure to not allow Morgan to speak at the event, Holiday Inn owner Don Houseworth said, "No one ever asked me not to allow her to speak. I fully support Asa and always have and will continue to. I believe in Governor Asa Hutchinson." Now, see, here's the thing about that. You got to look at the email. I mean, the email doesn't directly ask Don Houseworth from the governor's office, doesn't directly ask Don Houseworth to not have the event. But he's copying on an email from somebody in the governor's office sent to the Mississippi County Republicans saying, hey, I don't think Jan Morgan's such a good idea here because she criticizes elected officials. And now we have this bogus rule being circulated by a Northwest Arkansas senator saying it's against the party rule to have anyone speak that criticizes elected officials. I mean, what is this, communist Russia? What is this, communist China? You can't speak out against the party? That's against the rule? Well, then how in the world are we supposed to have a debate if we can't criticize people? See, in their little world, it's only about electing other Republicans. And who cares what they do? They're on our team. They identify with us. You know, it's like we've allowed, you know, I mean, I'm not saying, like I said, I know Jeff Long was fired today, the athletic director. But, you know, college football fans, you haven't any of those diehard football fans out there, whoever team it is or whatever. And, you know, they're always going to defend because they identify. No matter what happens, they're always going to defend because they identify with the team. And that's kind of what it is, just this blind allegiance, blind loyalty. It doesn't matter what happens. Now, that may not be the case here in Arkansas right now, but you understand where I'm going with this. It's dangerous to have blind allegiance and to make up rules that don't exist, saying just to silence political speech. You establishment Republicans only confirm you have no idea why you ran as a Republican. You know who wants to silence your speech? Antifa. You get shouted down by somebody in Antifa or something on a college campus and you try to respond, they don't even let you respond. They say, no, you can't talk because you're a man or you're a white man. It's the same principle as saying, well, this person has ideas that I just don't want to hear these ideas. I just don't even want to hear these ideas. So we're just going to uninvite Jan Morgan because we just want to pretend like that what she says just doesn't even exist. You guys are confirming why we don't have true conservatism and limited government here in Arkansas. Because if you don't have the basic concept of freedom of speech down and are not comfortable with it in this society, no wonder you can't say no to Obamacare. No wonder you can't stand up for Arkansas sovereignty. No wonder you're not real, true fiscal conservatives. No wonder you don't want lower taxes but want to protect how much money the government's taking from the people at all costs. No wonder you don't want real regulatory reform and can't say no to the special interests. You guys can't even agree on freedom of speech. You're trying to silence political opposition within your own party. It's an embarrassment. You should be ashamed of yourself. All to worship the R, the mighty R at the end of Asa Hutchinson's name, the power you're worshiping. It's not the power you think it is. We got to take a break. You're listening to the Paul Harrell program. More on this. Going to go to Facebook and show you some photos. And we got more government employees lashing out at Jan Morgan. It wasn't just Doug Smith. Now we have a new name to add to the list. I'll tell you who that is next. If you're like me, you believe that small business is the heart of Arkansas's economic engine, and it should be viewed that way by the politicians in Little Rock. Conduit for Commerce also believes, like you and I believe, policies that achieve less regulation and lower taxation help small business in Arkansas thrive. Other policies like small, constitutionally consistent government and reducing citizen dependency on government keeps it from growing and expanding its influence on our daily lives. Conduit for Commerce works every day to educate the general public and legislators on these important priorities in the name of Arkansas small business. By the way, contributions to Conduit for Commerce are tax deductible. Log on now to conduitforcommerce.org and click on Contact Us on the right side of the page. That's conduitforcommerce.org.
Go there now and learn the facts on protecting small business in Arkansas.
This is Mother Government. My people. The promised revenue gathering to fund my motherly goals, such as the Arkansas Works, Obamacare, private option has commenced. I have asked my representatives and senators to execute my will concerning new revenues from the tires you use to drive on my roads, the candy and sodas you consume and purchase in my stores, and the digital products you download on my internet. Your sacrifices and tributes, which are owed, display a measure of obedience, but there are still collectible sacrifices I require from the people to increase the work and size of our great government of Arkansas. There are two matters left unresolved. 1. I require a general tribute for all purchases made on my internet. Not just digital products, but all products. My dear children, there are those who would thwart my motherly goals of progress. If you see them, please combat their misguided notions of freedom by using phrases like mom and pop, and tax cheat. 2. I still require more revenue sacrifices concerning your consumption of my gasoline. I require your undying loyalty on the subject. Subjects, in conclusion. More revenue is good. Static revenue is bad. This message was brought to you by your stewards, aristocrats serving Arkansas. Thank you, my children, in advance for your required and expected obedience that keeps society safe and prosperous. And always remember, from cradle to grave.
PHP Parody.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, hang on one second.
The Paul Harrell Program.
We got to get a listen to her. All right. I want to introduce you to somebody. You know Doug Smith. You know how he sent the email. You know how he works for the governor's office making $50,000 a year. By the way, governor's, according to the website, he doesn't make $50,000 anymore. He only makes $37,000. I don't know. Maybe it was that email had something to do with it. Maybe got a demotion. Go to Facebook here. Jan Morgan on one of the posts actually introduces you to Andrew Branch. Who is Andrew Branch? This is what Andrew Branch writes on Jan Morgan's Facebook page. I'm proud of the Sebastian County Republican Committee for not allowing you to run your mouth at their dinner. The ridiculous lies you shared in Mississippi County were a disgrace. Now, Andrew Branch here doesn't give any evidence to any untruths. He just makes baseless accusations. This is what somebody on the left does. This is their MO.
Yeah, it doesn't even point out or doesn't even say what the quote-unquote lies were
exactly.
And why they are lies.
Scrolling down, let me show you a picture of Andrew Branch. Okay? This is Andrew Branch. Click on that photo. If you can see in the photo here, this is a photo of him at the Mississippi County dinner. Where he is recording, videotaping, presumably for Asa Hutchinson, because that's Asa Hutchinson's table. Asa bought a table. So who is this guy, right? Who is this guy? Let's go to he's a government employee. Go to transparency.gov. There he is, Andrew Branch, making $100,524.94 a year. He's celebrating on Facebook, Jan Morgan being banned. He's a government bureaucrat working for the Arkansas Development Finance Authority. Arkansas Development Finance Authority making $100,000 a year, going in Asa's stead to videotape the event, to report back to his boss. And, he's celebrating on Facebook that she gets uninvited. Folks, these are leftist tactics. These are leftist tactics. I'm going to give you more information. I'll tell you this. You hear what J.R. Davis said about the email, the Doug Smith email? He said it was an unauthorized email. Yeah, unauthorized. It's about the same way. It's like unauthorized the way Lois Lerner was unauthorized to, wasn't told directly by Obama to target Tea Party groups for their political affiliation. Yeah. Real unauthorized. Back in a minute.
Welcome those of you watching at paulharrell.com, Facebook Live, or our YouTube page, The Paul Harrell Program. This is the set where we shoot our Wednesday weekly videos for our Patreon subscribers. And if you want to get on board and get extra Paul Harrell Program content because you want to partner with us, you believe the show has value, you want to help us keep the show on the air, you want to help us grow the show, you want to help us make videos like this one even better, then you need to seriously think about subscribing to Patreon. It's patreon.com/thephp. That's patreon.com/thephp. Get extra content today, partner with us, and help build the Liberty Machine. We're asking you to partner with us for as little as $5 a month. Now, you can go up from there. You can go to $10 a month and get extra features, or $25 a month and become a Conduit Media Insider. But for $5 a month, you can really help us out. You can get extra content. You can see what we talk about on sets like this, and I promise you, you won't be disappointed. Thanks for watching. Back in a moment.
Paul Harrell, weekdays from 4 to 6. Learn more at paulharrell.com.
Say about the sign issue. Now, one thing that several states do, and I've done some research on this, and I think one thing is they need to clear up what is the actual Texas law. I don't think we've ever heard yet, or I haven't, and I've been busy today, but on allowing carry, because like I said, a lot of pro-carry states ban it in churches. And so on the sign issue, many states will say, we ban carry. We did the opposite here in Arkansas. I listened to several of the churches, sit down and worked with them, and I think that what we came up with is it's the individual carry person that's carrying with the permit to know the responsibility, know the rules, and have permission from the church or know the rules before they go in there. If you have to post a sign, the tragic part about that is that if you have 10 churches out there and 3 of them don't want any carry at all, which I don't agree with, but yet they don't want that, under my bill, they don't have to post a sign. But, Paul, we just had the campus carry debacle by Jeremy Hutchison, Dismaying, Hendren, a whole host of them that went through this thing. That changed it. So now if you have an enhanced carry, which we still don't even have yet, if you have this enhanced carry permit and a church does not want to, say the Catholic Church or the Methodist Church that has a hierarchy, I think they were originally opposed to my bill, and they wound up being okay with it, I think, in some level. But now, if they don't want any carry at all, even enhanced carry, they're going to have to post a sign. Well, that's dumb for Asa Hutchison to do that. Okay,
it's making churches vulnerable. It'll make churches vulnerable.
It's just making a church say we're a gun-free zone. Okay. I mean, it's just, and I tried to talk to them and say, but once again, they pulled the bill out of committee several times. Myself and some other senators had it blocked and wanted to talk about things and try and work things out. No, they don't do it. They just go ahead, and that's why we had the debacle that we had.
Unbelievable. That is so frustrating. It was. So so you tried to talk to them, and what'd you say? Were you like, hey, you guys are going to undo a key component of the Church Protection Act?
Yeah, that's right. Senator Hendren doesn't want criticism, and so he just, I talked to him, I pulled him back there in the back room, and I said,
Watch Paul live at paulharrell.com. It's free and available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, because the Liberty Machine never sleeps.
And so this broadcast of this segment of the Paul Harrell program brought to you by the great folks at Patriots of Act 746, an 11,000-member strong Facebook group trying to educate Arkansans about your gun rights, the Second Amendment, and specifically constitutional carry and Act 746 right here in Arkansas. Hey, joining us now to talk a little bit more about this and some enhanced carry news, we have Mr. Bob Bailey is with us. Bob, welcome to the Paul Harrell program, sir.
Thank you for having me.
You're from Russellville, right?
I am.
All right. So we're always glad to have somebody from Russellville calling, and hopefully the folks are listening in the River Valley on 610 AM, 101.3 FM Carve out of Russellville, as well as online. So Bob, tell us, first of all, a little bit about the Patriots of Act 746. How did you come to find this group?
I have been a gun instructor since 2000, and I found them on Facebook, and I just started paying attention to them and kind of getting educated, and became friends with one of the founders, Gary Epperson, and that's pretty much how I realized what was going on.
Yeah. So I mean, what have you learned, since joining the group? I mean, were you shocked to understand, what Act 746 really means in terms of Second Amendment rights?
I was shocked that they were putting out information that I hadn't been seeing anywhere else.
Yeah.
Me being an instructor since the year 2000, I kind of tend to pay attention to gun right issues of any sort. And what I was hearing from this group was unlike what I was hearing from any other group.
Mm-hmm.
So the more I got to looking at it and reading into it, the more I'm like, wow, here's something that's for the good of the people that nobody's hearing about other than on Facebook.
Yeah. So you are, I mean, that's what they do. They're great at that. But you're a concealed carry instructor. You just mentioned that. And you guys, from what I'm hearing, now correct me if I'm wrong, it kind of feels like y'all are about to be put through the ringer with this new enhanced carry stuff and all these new, regulations and the red tape you got to go through if you want to teach that class. What can you tell us about, the information that you're getting concerning the new law, the new level of carry here in Arkansas?
Well, the one thing that concerns a lot of us is we weren't really given the option to decide to train or not. They're basically coming out saying you have from January to March to train, and they want us to be able to offer a class. And if you don't do that, you will cease to be an instructor. No ifs, ands, and buts about it.
Hang on, okay. Let's stop right there. So that means if you just wanted to continue offering the regular the regular carry license that you don't really need, but if you wanted it maybe for reciprocity and things like that, but if you just want to keep doing that, they're saying you can't do that anymore.
They're saying that you have to take this enhanced instruction to be able to offer it to your students. Whether you do or not, it doesn't really matter. They're saying you've got to go through this training or you will cease to be an instructor.
Wow.
That is an issue that has a lot of instructors up in arms.
So what kind of training are we talking about here? And, I mean, I've been told some people are just going to quit. And that would mean, less training out there.
I'm hearing a lot of that. It's going to be enough of a hassle for some people that they're just going to say, hey, to heck with this. It's not worth it to me. I'm done. I'm a little bit on the fence about that myself. Right now, as instructors, nobody that I know of has gotten any kind of guidance from the state police. We just know that it's coming. What I read was sent to me by a local police chief that basically was several pages long. It outlined the training criteria, which is basically some of the older police training courses that police used to have to go through. And the issues that I'm having with this is if you're the kind of guy that hadn't practiced with your gun, I'd see a lot of people during the recalls that hadn't shot since 5 years ago. I mean, that's the reality. If you're one of those people that shoots very little, you're probably not going to be able to pass this course.
Wow.
If let's say you're an elderly person and you have arthritis in your hands or you have bad knees or you have bad shoulders, you're one of the people that need a gun the most to protect yourself. You don't have the physical ability to whoop somebody off of you. These are the people that's going to be affected the most by this. And from what I'm reading and seeing, and I had discussed this with several other instructors, we don't really see any benefit to this enhanced training whatsoever. Most of your universities have been given the options to opt out if they want to opt out of it, which means all they have to do is provide a security plan and say, hey, we don't want guns on our campus. So that goes away.
Yeah, and let's stop there for a second. That's ridiculous. The whole point of this bill, before everybody started worrying about making Asa look bad because he didn't support it and he didn't want to have to face the college presidents, this was only about colleges. Before there was a extra qualification and more red tape and a new permission slip, it was only about saying, hey, if you have your concealed carry license and you're a professor, we'd like to allow you to be able to, exercise your right on a college campus. And now it's, okay, well, now the colleges have a loophole where they can just say no. I mean, we're not going to let you do that. And now we have to force current instructors to take the class, or you can't be an instructor at all anymore. It just seems like there's a ton of unintended consequences, or maybe this is all intentional. I mean, you can talk to people that said they had this thing planned for 3 years, and they've always known that they were going to do this and create more regulations, more obstacles to our rights.
Yes, exactly. The problem I have is anytime you let government, whether it's local, federal, any government, doesn't matter, and once they get their foot in the door on this stuff, what's it going to be like 3 years from now or 5 years from now or 20 years from now? I can actually see them saying, hey, you know what? We're just going to do away with the regular license, and now we're going to have everybody have an enhanced carry license.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just a matter of time because that's what government does.
You're exactly right. They don't think we're responsible enough as is just to be able to protect ourselves. I mean, Asa Hutchinson, when he puts this thing out on Twitter saying he supports the Second Amendment, no, he called it a privilege, number one, and Asa is only comfortable with you having a gun in a public place so long as you go along with certain things he wants you to. So long as you train, then he's okay with you having the privilege of carrying your gun. And that's really what this, that's the whole problem, is that we got these people in office, they don't even know what the government was created for originally. It was to protect us from, it was to protect our rights. And yet now we have government trying to regulate and take and diminish our rights away. It's the complete opposite of the way things were intended.
Exactly, and it's going to get to the point where you won't be able to afford it. What is your personal definition of nominal?
Nominal, yeah.
Let's say nominal fee. What is a nominal fee to you? How much is a nominal fee?
It's kind of what my grandfather used to say. It's worth whatever somebody's willing. I used to collect baseball cards, and I'd say, oh, gosh, I've got this card, or I got that card. And he would say, that card's only worth what somebody's willing to pay for it. So, that's the same thing with the nominal fee.
Well, exactly. If you're one of these guys making $30,000 a year, your nominal fee is going to be less than my nominal fee. I make $100,000 a year. You might make $250,000 a year. What's your nominal fee? Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So
yep.
They come out, and I don't think it's about rights. I don't think it's about privilege. I think it's about money. To the Arkansas legislature, a nominal fee is $300.
Yeah.
Now, to me, that's not a big deal. To you, that might not be a big deal. But that's not the principle of it. The principle is, if you're at one of these guys with $30,000 a year job, are you going to be able to afford that?
Yeah.
Is your life worth any less than mine just because you can't pay a nominal fee?
Yeah, and you're exactly right. We're talking with Bob Bailey. You are exactly right, Bob. It really, when you put it like that, they're putting a price on a life. It's just real spooky if you think about it like that.
Let's talk about another unintended consequence. Right now, your concealed carry fees for a class. We've got a guy up at Dover that does $35 for a class. Most of the classes here in Russellville are going to run you anywhere from $50 to $100. I know of a couple of guys down in Little Rock that are doing $200 to $250. So you've got a pretty good range of what it's going to cost you just to get a permit. Now, you're requiring these instructors to go to more training. The class is supposed to be another 5 to 8 hours from what I'm seeing. As an instructor, if I'm charging $50 for a class right now that is required by law to take 5 hours, Now we're doing a 10 or a 12-hour class. That price is probably at least going to double, if not more. So now you're looking at maybe $150, $200 for a class, plus $300 for the fee. You're looking at $500, and that's a part that's not even been addressed by the legislature. Their nominal fee is $300 for this enhanced license. They hadn't even considered what the instructors are going to have to charge just to cover their time and materials.
They didn't have a clue what they were doing. I think that's what's obvious here.
They didn't have a clue. You're exactly
well,
right.
This is what happens when you contort your principles in order to protect a Republican governor who's not a real Republican. This is what happens, because that bill they tried to make, whether you agree with the permission slip or not, but I'm telling you, they tried to make this bill a lot easier and very simple, and the governor said no, because he couldn't defend it, because he doesn't believe in it. And so then they had all these negotiations, and the governor was still not for it. The governor's nephew wasn't for it. And we have a bill that is not really thought out practically, because it only came about because of political expediency and loyalty to the governor. And it's clear, when now you have instructors and all this extra power to the Arkansas State Police, and people are saying, they've completely undone everything. Charlie Collins did not set out to create a disaster, I don't believe, and I think that's what this bill is becoming. If you talk to these instructors, you're an instructor, if you talk to other people, all Charlie Collins wanted to do was allow professors to carry if you had a concealed handgun license. That's all he wanted to do. And then instead of putting Republicans on the spot like Asa and forcing them to veto it if they didn't like it, no, instead we don't want to make anybody look bad in public. And it's a mess. It's an absolute mess, Bob.
How is it that a Republican governor would not actually support the right to bear arms is what I want to know.
It's a great question. I mean, Gary Epperson, our friend on the Facebook live feed right now, he just wrote that Charlie Reese from 1937 to 2013, that's his lifespan. He wrote this, quote, "Gun control by definition affects only honest people. When a politician tells you he wants to forbid you from owning a firearm or force you to get a license, he is telling you he doesn't trust you. That's an insult." He went on, "Gun control is not about guns or crime. It is about an elite that fears and despises the common people." I agree with that.
I do too, because, as long as you have the right to bear arms, you have a limit to the amount of crap that they can put on you. At some point in time, you will say enough is enough, and you will rise up and you will take arms. And that is history. That is historical. The Founding Fathers knew that. They had just beat off England doing exactly the same thing. I worked at a nuclear plant for 34 years and I retired, and once a year we had to go to a class. And all that class was about was the definition of shall and shall not. We actually learned that if you did something that said shall not, you were looking at possible prison time and big fines. If you didn't do something that said shall, same issue. We went to a class once a year, and every nuclear person that had access to a job order to repair stuff had to go to that class. I sorely wish that our politicians would attend that same class, because to me, shall not be infringed means nothing less, nothing more. It means shall not be infringed at all. To me, you paying a nominal fee of $300 for this enhanced license, coming to my class paying $200, is that not an infringement?
I certainly think it is.
What about being fingerprinted like a common criminal in case you do something wrong?
Mm-hmm. In order to get it, yeah.
What about passing a background check that basically says you are guilty of something until we prove you innocent?
It's pretty scary stuff. I mean, when you look at the actual ideology behind it, the motivation behind it, it's not far off from, the allegations that the NSA collects everything we do online, and in case we do something wrong in the future, they need it in case we do something wrong in the future to look back at it. So
that is all about globalism.
Yeah.
If you look at the picture, they don't want anybody being armed for reasons that we already stated. You've got a limit to the amount of crap that they can put on you.
Bob, I appreciate it, sir. It's great to meet you. It's a great conversation. I would love for you to keep us posted on what else comes down the pike with the enhanced carry. Specifically, I'm interested in, you are a licensed instructor, so I just want to know kind of the feeling on the ground. I'll give you the last word. What's the summary right now on this enhanced carry bill among concealed handgun carry instructors?
I haven't talked to one single instructor that thought it was a good idea.
There we go. That's all we need to know. All right, keep us posted. Bob Bailey of Patriots of Act 746. We appreciate it, sir. Thanks for calling in.
All right, thanks for having me.
All righty, folks. The telephone number, call text 870-275-9799. We'll be back in just a moment.
Good morning. Good morning. Congratulations, you have made it to the Bureau of Carefully Crafted Language, where we strive to offer politicians the very best in ambiguously specific language, the purpose of which is to allow our politician bosses to grow government and keep their constituents in the dark. This yields two beneficial outcomes. First, the government-growing politicians stay in office, and second, we at the Bureau of Carefully Crafted Language get to remain in the shadows and get to keep our jobs. Now, it's time for technocrat training drills. Johnny?
Yes?
A politician wants to use the healthcare system to punish those who have and redistribute their wealth. What is the appropriate language to use in this situation to make an unpopular idea acceptable to the public?
I would emphasize that these ideas would make their healthcare more affordable and make sure the public understands if they already have adequate healthcare, nothing will change for them.
Very good, Johnny. Much progress since last time. Next up, let's have Susie. Susie, your politician has been caught in, dare I say it, a lie.
What kind of a lie?
It doesn't really matter, but in the spirit of the Bureau of Carefully Crafted Language, I will give you a good hypothetical scenario. Dozens of politicians have been thrown out of office for supporting a socialist health care program. So the remaining politicians get together and they pass a bill to, quote, end the program, end quote. But they really want to keep it. What should they do, Susie?
May I ask a question for more information?
Certainly.
Has the word lie been used by the political opposition?
Yes.
I know. They should change the name of the program. Maybe use the word works to make the sheeple think it's for working folk. Then they should go on the attack and get the public distracted. I would advise the politician to publicly question why our political dialogue has become so uncivilized and tell them to claim using the word lie, no matter how accurate, is a personal attack on his or her character. And if they admit to any wrongdoing at all, they must replace the word lie with words like misspoke, misstatement, misrepresent, or mislead.
Amazing! Excellent work, Susie. Like the student has really become the teacher. You will make a terrific addition to the Bureau of Carefully Crafted Language.
All hands on deck. This is a Bureau of Carefully Crafted Language emergency. Several politicians are scrambling after being exposed by some talk radio host. Let's move it, people. They need our help.
The Bureau of Carefully Crafted Language. You vote 'em in, and we keep 'em in. PHP Parody.
Coming up at the top of this hour, coming up at the, 5:06, we're going to be talking with the Lieutenant Governor, Tim Griffin. He's coming on. We're going to talk a little bit about what's going on in Randolph County this Saturday night. Randolph County has their big dinner. Tim Griffin will be speaking at that. Tim Griffin was also at the Mississippi County dinner with Jan Morgan earlier, on last Saturday, and he did a great job. And I'd just love to talk about Tim on some of his ideas on tax reform and things like that. But as well, just kind of promote, I really want to promote the good folks up in Randolph County and their event, and just direct people towards Pocahontas. And I know that they are really looking forward to having Tim, and they're really looking forward to having a great event. Folks, the phone number is, if you want to call or text, 870-275-9799. And we're going to finish up with this Courier News, Blytheville Courier News article that has really exposed the governor and his office to exactly what I've been saying has been going on. GOP feud has spilled over into Mississippi County. This is a piece written by Tom Henry, and at the very end of the piece, this is what I want to get going. I mean, Tom Henry FOIA'd the governor's office, was denied. Now think about that for a second. Think about FOIAing the governor and the emails and everything like that, and nope, that's not, that was done on government time, but nope, you can't have them. Those are not the people's documents, apparently. Those are ACE's documents. You can't have those. You can't have them. But the Courier News also asks for confirmation or denials. Listen to this. This is so specific. Of whether or not an email was sent by anyone from the governor's office attempting to get Miss Jan Morgan's invitation to speak rescinded, a confirmation or denial that any emails were sent by anyone from the governor's office related to the Mississippi County event, and a confirmation or denial whether any pressure has been applied in any form by anyone working in the governor's office toward any other Arkansas counties pertaining to invitations for Mrs. Morgan to speak. Wow, don't you know they loved reading that email from Mr. Hardy, the journalist here? Don't you love that? Don't you know they absolutely loved it? Or I'm sorry, Tom Henry. I'm telling you. That's fantastic. I would have loved to see the look on their faces when they read that email asking those questions. Yeah, even though they're not going to respond and turn over the documents, it's still great that they would, I don't know, that more people, oh, well, this means more people are going to find out what we did. Then J.R. Davis, you see there, J.R. Davis, the communications director for the governor's office, said, quote, an individual who happens to work in the governor's office did send an unauthorized email from a personal account on personal time. The governor had no knowledge of this individual's actions and would never authorize such an email. No other emails to our knowledge have been sent by this individual to any other counties. Wow. Okay. Well, let's hope there's not any other emails out there. He also denied to the Courier News' he denied the Courier News' FOIA request on the grounds that even though they weren't of the governor himself, they were still exempt from FOIA as, quote, correspondence or working papers of the governor, which is exempt from disclosure from our office pursuant to Arkansas Code 25-19-105B7, exempting unpublished memoranda, working papers, and correspondence of the governor. Davis also added, quote, in regards to the specific email you have referenced, that email is not a public record subject to disclosure under the Arkansas Freedom of Information Act, and refer to follow-up questions to Hutchinson's campaign. Interestingly enough, I went ahead and sent a copy of Mr. Doug Smith's email, again, employee of the governor, that he sent to the Republican Committee of Mississippi County. I went ahead and sent that to the Courier News so that they would have the email, just in case they wanted to look at it. Okay? We got one more hour coming your way next. Don't go anywhere. We're going to talk. Hey, do you know that Conway passed the tax increase on Tuesday? That was a special election. We'll talk about how many people turned out. And it was low, and of course the tax passed, as well as another city. Special elections. Thanks a lot, James Sturch.
Rush, Glenn, Sean, and Paul. This is Jonesboro's 1013 FM News Talk, KBTM.
Paul Harrell, weekdays from 4 to 6. Learn more at paulharrell.com.
Jim, I said, hey, let's just work on this bill. You may wind up getting what you want. I may vote for it. I may not. I don't know yet. But I said, let's just slow the process down. Let's have a discussion about it. Because the one thing about gun bills is, Paul, it's just like dealing with guns in real life, like I was taught by my dad. You have to be careful. You have to think about every situation. You have to go through a lot of different things. They rushed the whole thing through. I mean, it was all a bunch of backroom deals, the NRA. I don't even know what the heck they did. But it was all relationships, and they all wanted to get something passed and do something. And another thing, too, is about the enhanced carry part. Well, I mean, we've had the bill in effect now for 4 years, and we fortunately hadn't had any incidents or any problems with it. Like I said, it allows, it's very respectful. The nation wants to do in their own policy. And so they basically said, no, we want to decide for you. And I don't agree with that. I mean, I think whatever policy you should have should be respectful. I didn't agree with the previous policy of these people down there in Little Rock deciding that everybody shouldn't have carry in churches and just basically deciding it. And it's still that way today in a different level that, they feel like they need to decide what's best for everybody.
Yeah, you're exactly right about that. And that's the whole, that's the entire enhanced concealed carry, whatever you want to call it, in a nutshell. When Asa Hutchinson, he called the Second Amendment a privilege that the government essentially gives people. They do not trust people with their natural rights. Like they don't trust. They want you to have a gun if you can satisfy Governor Asa Hutchinson's concerns about you having a gun. Then you can have one, and that's just not.
That's right.
That's just not what.
And if you have the extra time and money, you can do it.
Exactly. It's a joke, but I am glad. I hope other states do look to your bill, Senator Brian King, again from 2013, was successful, is the law. I hate that it's been undermined or changed. If some of these people don't want enhanced carry, they've now got to put a sign out there, which is going to make them more vulnerable. I hope something like that could get fixed in the future. But while I have you here, I'd like to kind of explore on some of the latest headlines that we haven't gotten to talk in a few weeks. But specifically, you had the Trump administration essentially ending the subsidies to insurance companies. As a result, or sort of an indirect result, we have the Arkansas Insurance Department approving these huge, 19, 20, 21% increases in premiums on the people of Arkansas. Everybody's gotten a letter. People are really upset about it. And now we find out, and I know that, the state of Arkansas charges these insurance companies premiums 2.5%. And so when the price goes up, it actually means there's more tax dollars, tax revenue that comes into the government. So there's a real perverse incentive structure going on that actually the government's going to benefit from us paying higher premiums.
Sure, they're going to get more money, and it was Senator Jonathan Dismang who deceives people. He snuck it through on an appropriation bill in special language, and it was helped by the joint budget chairmen. So all the insiders ushered it through. It wound up being a huge tax raise. That's what it was. It was a total deceiving way of multiple times. I mean, you look at Senator Dismang, that he comes up with this legislation. I mean, he's it could be that he needs to answer questions about his ties to Blue Cross Blue Shield, because we've continued to be, the taxpayers have continued to pay for a much more expensive form of Medicaid expansion that is far more than the $215,000 that was originally projected to be on the program. And yet there's questions I think he needs to answer. about his ties to Blue Cross Blue Shield. I mean, he runs the legislation, and I sit there and challenged it. Mainstream media will do nothing about it. Blue Cross Blue Shield has cashed millions of dollars in eligible beneficiary people that's getting benefits. And Senator Dismaying, John Burris, another one that's getting more money out of the legislation that he helped to see people on. So, this whole thing of everybody wants to talk about the Clintons and paper play. Well, I think there's possible questions that need to be asked down there, but the media down there is not going to ask it. They're just going to keep covering it up.
Yeah, so, that's very interesting. Because the principle is very straightforward here. The principle is everybody agrees, in theory, that if you're a legislator, you can't make extra money on the side, or I can't pay you, Senator King, to pass a law that says, people in radio broadcasting get these benefits. I can't pay you to do that. That is illegal. And yet,
the maintenance of a free society is a very difficult and complicated thing, and it requires a self-denying ordinance of the most extreme kind. It requires a willingness to put up with temporary evils on the basis of the subtle and sophisticated understanding that if you step in to do something about them, you not only may make them worse, but you will spread your tentacles and get bad results elsewhere.
I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the Founding Fathers. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on Earth. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
You're listening to the Paul Harrell Program, brought to you by Conduit Media Group.
Hey, folks, welcome back to the program. This is hour number 2. Thanks so much for being with us. My name is Paul, and you have found the intersection of conservative ideas and reality. We're trying to build a liberty machine, and if you want to help us out to do that, one of the ways you can help us out is to call us or text us, 870-275-9799. I'd love to welcome back to the program. We have the Lieutenant Governor of the great state of Arkansas, Tim Griffin, is back with us. Tim, thanks for coming on, sir.
Thanks for having me. Always an honor. Yes. I appreciate you allowing me to grace your program.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We appreciate it very much. Now, the reason I wanted to have you on is just because I wanted to talk about where you're going to be this Saturday, November the 18th. Randolph County Republicans are putting on their Reagan Day dinner, and you're the big speaker, and it's going to be at the Randolph County Development Center. That's 1410 Highway 304 East in Pocahontas. And I caught, and you referenced this because I saw you at Mississippi County in their dinner, and you did a great job, and you said that the Randolph County is going to get the long version of that speech. And I just wanted to say I thought your ideas were really good, they're powerful, and I really hope that they get implemented in the state of Arkansas.
Well, I think, whether they get implemented over 10 years or 1 year or don't or do, that's a separate issue. I still have an obligation to push. And, I certainly want this stuff to get implemented. We're going to have a good time. See, let me just give you some technical stuff. So the doors are going to open, I think, at 5:30. And let's see, welcome and catered dinner at 6:15. And, it's not going to be, I'm not going to talk too long. We're not going to keep people there all night. It's going to be fun. Should be some good food. I hope folks come and just have a good time. I tell folks, when they're planning these things, don't make them too structured, too stiff, because people want to have a good time. Yeah, they want to go to a Republican event, talk politics and policy and all that. But at the end of the day, they want to have a good time, and they want to go home saying, man, that was fun. Food was good, had a good time. So I'm going to be, I don't know about everybody else, but I'm going to be pretty darn relaxed. And we're just going to enjoy ourselves. So I hope we get a good crowd up there. And it'll be fun. I've been up there once or twice before to their dinner.
Yeah.
And I've always had a good time. And so I'm excited about it.
Good. Well, I wanted to let the audience know that you're going to be there. And, once again, I'm really glad that you could come on. So, you made statewide news a couple of months back when you sent a letter to the task force on tax relief, urging them to get spending under control. You talked a little bit about that Saturday night as well, and you actually came to the point in your speech, and I really loved it when you said we don't have a choice. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, we don't have a choice. There's several reasons, but I think the point I was referring to then was other states are implementing some of these transformational ideas. Other states are taking a close look at all parts of government and asking, is this necessary? Is this the best way? What I always say is, I don't care how we've always done it. I don't care how we currently do it. The only thing that matters is how should we be doing it. If we're already doing it that way, then great for us. If we're not, we ought to change. And other states are doing this, and we're in a competition. When jobs go to state A or state B, and they're not going to also come here. It's a choice, right? If we get jobs and another state doesn't, it's a zero-sum game. So there's a limited number of jobs being created in the country at any one time, and we're competing to get them. And I'll give you a couple examples. So I was at a lieutenant governor meeting the other day, and the lieutenant governor of Ohio, who is running for governor, was talking about something called CSI. No, it's not a TV show, although it is. It's called the Common Sense Initiative. And what they are doing is they are going line by line through all the Ohio state regulations, and they're finding the duplicative ones, the wasteful ones, the too complicated ones. They're getting rid of them. They're simplifying them. They're making sure they make sense. And they say, I think the estimate was going to get rid of 2,000 wasteful or duplicative regulations. So Ohio's doing that. I was in Chicago for this particular meeting. I was the lieutenant governor meeting, and the lieutenant governor and governor of Illinois were speaking, and they were speaking about the word transformation. And when I heard them say it, I go, "Oh my gosh!" They've been reading. They've been listening to my speeches. They've been reading my stuff. I was like, "Oh my gosh!" They're doing what I'm talking about.
They stole your material.
Yeah, and that's the deal. They're ideas. Anybody can do them. And lots of states are doing it. And some of the states that are doing it are already ahead of us in certain things. And we need to look, here's what I tell people. It's not the people of Arkansas's fault. It's the politicians that over the decades have built up state government and not reformed it over time and not innovated appropriately. And somebody could say, well, you're a politician. What's the difference? Here's the difference. They made the mess, and I'm trying to fix it. That's the difference. Yeah. That's the difference.
Can you?
And make no mistake, it's not government workers' fault. It's not your average Arkansan, ordinary Arkansan fault. It's folks who have built up state government with their votes and their pens over the decades. This didn't just happen in the last month. This has been a long, ongoing trajectory. And I'll leave you with one statistic. And this is not something we can, address overnight, but I think it's important to be honest about where we are. The state of Tennessee has 65 state employees per 10,000. we have 100 to 119.
Unbelievable.
You wonder why they don't have an income tax and we do? That's why.
Wow. Yeah, that's a
and
big fact.
You don't have to lay people off for attrition over a decade, and you can start to get us in line with some other states like Texas, Tennessee, and Florida, none of which have income taxes.
Mm-hmm.
So, look, here's the great news. We gave the world Johnny Cash. We gave the world Al Green. We gave the world the most successful business, biggest corporation, most successful businessman. I mean, Arkansas can do amazing stuff. And we've been doing all this, a lot of this, with this big old heavy government burden, tax burden on our back. Imagine what the amazing people of Arkansas could do if we unleash the opportunity and have more freedom, for economic freedom in particular. And I'll leave you with this. Here's the vision. I want an Arkansas where one day I'm driving back from Dallas and I cross over the state line in Texarkana. And my wife looks at me and says, Tim, I feel so sorry for Texas. It breaks my heart about Texas. And I go, why, honey? And she says, well, all the growth, all the jobs, all the opportunity is here in Arkansas. I almost feel sorry for Texas. That's where I want to take it. That's where that's the vision.
Hey, well, that'd be a great reality. I mean, that's the kind of reality I'm talking about when we talk about the intersection of conservative ideas and reality. Tim Griffin, I know you got to go. I appreciate it stopping by, talking to us. You're going to be again at the Reagan Day dinner in Randolph County for the Randolph County Republican Committee this Saturday, November the 18th. Doors open at 5:30, and you can go to Facebook.
Black River Technical College.
All right, Black River Technical College.
That's right.
Okay, all right. Well, we appreciate it, Tim, as always, and look forward to staying in touch and doing it again soon.
Thank you, man.
All righty.
Bye-bye.
Lieutenant Governor Tim Griffin, everybody. We're going to take a break. When we come back, I want to go through special elections, and once again, they have caused more money coming out of the people's pockets. The voters are disenfranchised. We're going to take a look at what happened in Conway and another Arkansas town on Tuesday. You don't want to miss this. And again, we have State Representative James Sturch, who thinks he wants to be a senator now, to thank for all of this. The entire state brought to its knees by State Representative James Sturch and his legislative maneuver. We're going to take a break. Don't go anywhere. Back in just a moment.
The Paul Harrell Program, brought to you by Conduit Media Group.
This is State Representative Dan Sullivan with a Liberty Moment. Governments do not make ideals, but ideals make governments. This is both historically and logically true. Of course, the government can help to sustain ideals and create institutions through which they can better be observed, but the source of their very nature is in the people. The people have to bear their own responsibilities. There's no method by which that burden can be shifted to the government. It's not the enactment, but the observance of laws that created the character of a nation. President Calvin Coolidge.
Paid for by Sullivan for Arkansas. If you're like me, you believe that small business is the heart of Arkansas's economic engine, and it should be viewed that way by the politicians in Little Rock. Conduit for Commerce also believes, like you and I believe, policies that achieve less regulation and lower taxation help small business in Arkansas thrive. Other policies like small, constitutionally consistent government and reducing citizen dependency on government keeps it from growing and expanding its influence on our daily lives. Conduit for Commerce works every day to educate the general public and legislators on these important priorities in the name of Arkansas small business. By the way, contributions to Conduit for Commerce are tax deductible. Log on now to conduitforcommerce.org and click on Contact Us on the right side of the page. That's conduitforcommerce.org. Go there now and learn the facts on protecting small business in Arkansas.
If you would like information about advertising or supporting the Paul Harrell Program and Conduit Media Group, call 870-275-9755. Join the fight against big government and advance the preservation of liberty by calling 870-275-9755. The Paul Harrell Program, brought to you by Conduit Media Group.
Who's next to Zipline?
Me, and I'm really excited about this.
Sir, I'm sorry. The Zipline has a 350-pound weight limit, and frankly, I do not think it would be safe for you.
Oh, that's okay. I self-identify as 180 pounds, so it's cool.
Sir, that doesn't make any sense to me, and I'm afraid we can't let you ride the Zipline. You're too heavy. I'm sorry.
I can't believe this. I thought we had evolved as a society. I thought this was America, but I guess this is just my plight. First slavery, and now fat shaming.
Sir, again, I'm really sorry.
You listen to me. If you don't let me ride, not only will I sue this company for discrimination, I will sue you for damages because right now my feelings are so hurt and I feel embarrassed because I'm holding up the line.
Wouldn't be the first time.
Watch it, mister.
Look, okay, I'm sorry. I just don't think it would be safe for you.
You don't understand. I self-identify as skinny. So you have to let me ride the zip line. The Constitution says so. I get to define my own reality.
Oh, you know what? Okay, fine. Whatever. Ride the zip line. Mike, let this man ride the zip line.
Thank you. Now watch as my self-identity trumps your bigotry. See you on the other side, racist. Here I go! Doctor, thank goodness. What's the prognosis?
Sir, we've done everything we can, and you only have seconds to live.
No, you cannot say that. I do not self-identify as a dead person.
PHP Parody. Want to go back and listen to previous shows? Apple users can subscribe to our podcast on iTunes. Don't have an Apple device? Head on over to paulharrell.com and click on Podcast. It's free and available 24/7 because the Liberty Machine never sleeps.
Conway voters okay sales tax for streets. That's right. On Tuesday, Conway residents approved a 0.375 percentage point sales tax increase aimed at financing street reforms. Street repairs. Same thing. We need to reform our streets. That's great, Joe.
We need to reform our streets, but not in the way you think. We do not need to worry about drugs or any kind of criminal activity.
We
need to reform the streets themselves. Repair them.
That would be a great
potholes. Fill them in.
Depends on what your definition of reform is. In our case, it's just raising taxes to, put more asphalt down. All right. The increase will raise the total sales tax rate within the Faulkner County city to 9.125% and is expected to generate an additional $5.1 million annually. It expires in 2023. So how many were for? Let's see. 2,094 were for it, for the increase, and 1,484 were against. In Conway, which is a city of how big is Conway, Joe? Do you know? Let's see, what is it? This said, according to the 2010 census, Conway is 2016. It's estimated that the city of Conway has 65,300 people, and if we were to assume, let's just assume that registered voters are half that, it's still an outrage to anyone who believes in representative government, anyone who believes in the concept of a democratic election. These special elections disenfranchise the voters. They destroy the consent of the governed, and it's all so the city of Conway or any other city can get a tax increase. 65,000 people live there, and only 3,500 people show up to vote? Only 3,500 people decide whether or not everybody else is going to pay more money in taxes. That is wrong. That is wrong. And they do this because, go to Jeremy Horpendahl. Dr. Jeremy Horpendahl from the Center for Research and Economics here in Arkansas at UCA, based in Conway. Obviously, he's following the special election. He tweeted this: Conway sales tax increase passes handily as a percent of adult population. Turnout is about 7% based off unofficial results. This is definitely on the low end, as elections in recent decades ranged from 4 to 20% turnout. Average turnout statewide for special elections is about 19%. So here we go. We have another example of, thanks a lot, State Representative James Sturch. We really appreciate you for killing special election reform, and we've had all these tax increases, all of these tax increases going up, and up. That's not the only thing. Let's go over to another headline. Alexander voters back another sales tax. Voters in Alexander narrowly passed a 1 percentage point raise in the city's sales and use tax for the town's general fund. How many voted for in the town of Alexander? 59. 59 people voted for, and 55 people voted against. By 4 votes. 4 votes. The city's going to pay more in taxes. According to the 2010 census, the population of Alexander was 2,901 persons. 2,901 individuals live there, according to 2010, and a little over 100 people decide whether or not taxes are going to go up. And it's all because the city, your superintendent, whoever it is, they know they get what they want statistically more times in a special election than in a general election. And just on its face, that is wrong. You are not a public servant when you're trying to deceive the public and avoid a true democratic process. You're not serving the public. You're serving government. That's what you're serving. And there's a difference. Because if it wasn't for the public, government wouldn't have any money. So let's just take this opportunity to go back to the Conduit for Action article, Joe. Headline, How Representative James Sturch Killed Special Election Reform by Walking Out. Cities, counties, and school districts have special elections at random times throughout the year to raise taxes. It costs taxpayers an average of $200,000 per year to hold these elections. Taxpayers spent $7.4 million on special elections from 1981 to 2016. Voter turnout for these special elections averaged 19% for local sales tax elections, with a 77% pass rate for tax increases on the people. When held at general elections, the pass rate is just 45%. So a special election in Arkansas, you've got a 77% chance of getting what you want if you're the government, which is a tax increase. And if it's a general election, the government interests only have a 45% of seeing the revenue increase. During the recent legislative session, SB 723 by Senator Dave Wallace would have reformed special elections to increase voter turnout and streamline election dates. Representative James Sturch helped defeat this reform on the House floor days before the session ended by walking out after first voting for the bill. To fully understand what Representative James Sturch did, one must understand what a sound the ballot challenge is, a procedural move in the Arkansas legislature to challenge close votes. For a yes vote to stand under a sound the ballot challenge, a representative must be in their seat when their name is called. We have video evidence, and you can check this out at conduitforaction.org. He was in his seat until it got close to the S's in the alphabet. He got a text message of some kind from his phone after he had just voted for the bill, and it passed. He got up, left the room, so that they would strike his name and the bill would fail by one vote. He was the deciding vote. He got a text message from somebody telling him to get up and leave so that special elections would continue and tax increases would have a 77% chance of passage. Back in a minute.
Welcome those of you watching at paulharrell.com, Facebook Live, or our YouTube page, The Paul Harrell Program. This is the set where we shoot our Wednesday weekly videos for our Patreon subscribers. And if you want to get on board and get extra Paul Harrell Program content because you want to partner with us, you believe the show has value, you want to help us keep the show on the air, you want to help us grow the show, you want to help us make videos like this one even better, then you need to seriously think about subscribing to Patreon. It's patreon.com/thephp. That's patreon.com/thephp. Get extra content today, partner with us, and help build the Liberty Machine. We're asking you to partner with us for as little as $5 a month. Now, you can go up from there. You can go to $10 a month and get extra features, or $25 a month and become a Conduit Media Insider. But for $5 a month, you can really help us out. You can get extra content. You can see what we talk about on sets like this. And I promise you, you won't be disappointed. Thanks for watching. Back in a moment.
Paul Harrell, weekdays from 4 to 6. Learn more at paulharrell.com.
There are potentially, we have the consulting scheme that we see with, Mike and Neil and all these others, that are now involved in the whole court process, or you see attorneys. I mean, a lot of people don't know this, but if you're an attorney, you can take on a client and you can run bills for them. And you can get bills passed for them, and because your attorney or because the contract that the attorney and client sign says this is not for lobbying purposes, but it could very easily be, and a lot of times I think is, the attorneys are protected. The attorneys are able to essentially operate.
That's the privilege that Representative Ballinger keeps wanting to do, and he keeps saying, "Oh, well, you don't want to compromise." Well, what they want down there, the insiders want, they want a big, huge loophole that they can jump in and out of and do whatever they want to do. I mean, you look at what's come out, and since you just look at what's come out. I mean, Michael Lamoureux getting $120,000 check. You look at Jake Files. You look at all this come out, and then every time you file legislation or do something, well, Brian King's a bully. I mean, we had Representative Michelle Gray in the testimony in the committee. Literally, I don't even think the woman even knows what she was saying. Sits there and says, well, my bill was too broad. She then later on contradicted herself later on and said it wasn't broad enough.
Yeah, we have that audio.
I mean, these people just talk out of their head.
And now let's talk about what that was for.
Yeah.
Okay, that was for your Medicaid disclosure bill.
Medicaid disclosure bill. Yeah, on one hand, you would sit there and watch the video, folks. I mean, it just was, I was like...
It was very weird.
What else? I mean, we're going to have to worry about Russia nuking Guam? I mean, in this, how this is going to affect things? It just was crazy.
But I want to back up, because I think we're talking about two separate issues. You got the Medicaid. Well, maybe no, we are. So when you mentioned State Representative Bob Ballinger, he did not support your Medicaid disclosure bill, correct? No. And it was because of because it would have affected attorneys. Is that right?
Well, that was one of the reasons. I mean, I don't know the other ones. He can get on and explain it, but I mean, he just goes to talking and talking, and so it's just, these guys keep saying, "Oh, Brian King, this bill, this, everything like that." Have you seen anything offer up? The only thing I see offered up is unfortunately headline after headline. And then, Senator Hendren wants to put out a bill from the caucus statement, which I didn't agree with, that we're committed to integrity. No, I mean, I don't think so. I mean, I've seen enough down there back several years ago.
Across Arkansas and holding politicians accountable for what they say and do. The Paul Harrell Program.
That time of the week, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for your Conduit for Action survey, the Conduit for Action game show, if you will, where I'm your host, Paul Harrell, and our weekly contestant, the same person every single week, is our board operator, Joseph. Joe. May I call you Joe?
Sure.
All right. Are you excited to play? Ready to play the game?
Always.
Good. This past week, the Tax Relief and Reform Legislative Task Force met to discuss sales taxes, sales tax exemptions, and excise taxes. Okay? And you can learn more below the sources of some of these questions. And so this is just going to kind of test your knowledge, all right? Now, when you hear this sound, it means that you are out of time. Okay, just to be clear, we want you to know that we're going to need an answer when you hear that sound, okay? After we review the questions, if you get an answer correct, you will hear this noise. And if you get an answer wrong, you will hear that noise.
You ready to hear that first noise a lot?
The first noise a lot?
Yeah.
I hope so.
Ready to hear that?
I'm rooting for you. You made it 100% last week on the quiz.
100%. I didn't make 100% last time.
You didn't? Oh, yeah. Exactly.
I missed that one question.
That was 2 weeks ago you made 100%.
I mean, like an 87.5, I think is what it ended up being.
Okay. Question number 1. What is the state tax rate on the purchase of gasoline? Is it A, 15 cents per gallon, B, 17 cents per gallon, D, 19 cents per gallon, or C, 19 cents per gallon, or D, 21.5 cents per gallon? Think it out now. Think it out.
Okay, something tells me it's 21.5%.
Are you just saying that because of the psychology of trying to communicate that our government in Arkansas is out of control?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going off just the fact that I know our government's out of control here in the state of Arkansas, especially on taxes.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to go with 21.5%.
Okay, and under the time limit. So that's good. All right, question number 2. By the way, his answer was that the tax rate on gasoline is 21.5 cents per gallon. Question number 2. In fiscal year 2016, how much general revenue was generated from the gas tax? Now, this is interesting. Was it A, $250 million, B, $300 million, C, $400 million, or D, $438 million? Now just relax, Joe. Tell us what you think, bud.
Okay, so my gut is telling me to go with the one number that doesn't end in a zero, the $438 million.
Yeah, that would be D as well, and it would also communicate that Arkansas government is out of control in terms of that they want more money from the gas tax. They want to find new ways to tax it.
Yep. So I'm going with $438 million.
Okay, that's good, because this sound means you're out of time. All right, so $438 million is your choice. So question number 3 reads this: which of the following are sales tax exemptions under Arkansas law? A, a partial sales tax exemption on food and food ingredients. B, purchases made with food stamps are tax exempt. C, sales to any nonprofit hospital, sanitarium, or nursing homes. Or D, all of the above.
Okay, so I know that A is correct, but because I remember we went over an article yesterday that talked about sales tax exemptions, and that's the one that's...
You remember us talking about food?
Yeah, I remember talking about food and food ingredients specifically, but for some reason, I can't remember what the rest of them were that we talked about. I'm just going to go with A. Just going to go with the safe bet.
Well, hang on. I want you to use a little... Just look at the questions again. Specifically, look at option A and B and do a little deductive reasoning.
Well, it's food stamps. So.
Okay. Food stamps is one of the options.
Yeah.
So food stamps are used to buy what?
Food and food ingredients.
Right. And so A is food and food ingredients. And you're going with A.
Yeah.
But that would also mean that B would qualify based on a little deductive reasoning.
Are you sure?
I'm not trying to lead you astray. I'm just saying I don't think A would make sense there when you have an all of the above answer. The question would be whether or not C,
that's the one.
Sales to any non-profit hospital, sanitarium, or nursing homes are exempted.
My only problem with saying B is right, even though, yes, it is talking about food stamps. My only problem is it's a government-funded program, so they would be like, oh, we're going to give you these, and we're going to charge sales tax anyway so we can get some money back from you.
Well, so in that scenario, that would be a government program that's giving you food but then needing you to have money in order to get it. Because, see, food stamps aren't even a thing anymore, really. They're not stamps, just a card.
Yeah, that's true.
So if there was a tax paid on food stamps, people who use food stamps wouldn't know it.
So it's D again.
Okay, so you're going with all of the above. Now, I've never been so generous in my entire life, I don't think. That was generosity. I won't hold it against you. So, all right.
So you've never been more generous than that one moment in your entire life.
No, that's it. I've never been more generous on the radio. Okay, sorry. What are we? Question 4. In fiscal year 2011, the latest data from the Arkansas Department of Finance and Administration, how much did the sales tax exemption for sales to any nonprofit hospital, sanitarium, and nursing homes cost the state? Relax it out now, Joe. Is it A, $25 million, B, $50 million, C, $84 million, or D, $104 million?
It got louder in my headphones all of a sudden.
Yeah, that was me. All right, come on. What do you think? You're out of time.
I'm going with the $104 million.
A D again. D again. Wow, is that 4 D's in a row?
Yes, like my grades in college.
All right.
Yeah, I'm going to go with D again.
$104 million.
Because
again, that question was how much did the sales tax exemption for the sale to any nonprofit hospital, sanitarium, or so cost to the state?
Because eventually, I get the feeling, the feeling that I'm getting, just from the state in general, is that eventually they want to close off all exemptions while having certain, just specific ones. One like the military veterans being an exemption, and probably like 1 or 2 others eventually, but close off all the others. And $104 million seems like too juicy of a pool of money to just give up. And eventually they're probably going to close that off. Probably, I'm going to guess next session they're going to try to.
Yeah, we'll see.
If they haven't already.
Okay, so you're going with $104 million.
Yep.
Okay, $104 million is your answer. Question number 5. In fiscal year 2011, the latest data from the Arkansas Department of Finance and Administration, how much did the sales tax exemption for purchases made with food stamps cost the state? $10 million, $23 million, $35 million, or D, $46 million?
I'm going to go with B with $23 million. Because food stamps... Okay, so
you're not going with D again. You're going with B as in boy.
No. I think if you include food stamps, or if you include all food purchases, I think it'd be $46 million. But again, statistically, I'm pretty sure we've talked about this before. That
I'm going out on a limb here, and I don't have a clue on this one. Honestly, I don't remember this, but I would think that it's going to be D again.
Why would you say that?
Hasn't every answer been D?
Yeah, but...
So why wouldn't this one be D? At this point, come on. I'd be like, it's got to be D. If you're in doubt, mark D. If every answer's been D so far.
In my mind, it's been D. I don't know if the actual answers are D.
I think we're right.
Gonna need an
answer, Joe.
We're just going with D?
Gonna need an answer, Joe.
fine. I'm just going to go.
And again, it reinforces this narrative how messed up we're giving them a ton of money to do stuff, and yet they want more of it. That's why I think all these numbers, the highest numbers, are correct here. Question number 6, at what rate does the state of Arkansas tax insurance premiums? Is it A?
The most they can.
Is it A, 2.5%, B, 1%, C, 2%, or D, 2.5%?
2.5%. They're gonna tax it.
Okay, so again, it's another D.
Because it's
somebody's playing a game here.
The powers that be are messing with me.
Question 7. In fiscal year 2016, how much general revenue was generated from the insurance premium tax? $25 million, $60 million, $89 million, or $101 million to the government?
$101 million.
Okay, so you're going with D again. Obviously, I think we've got a pattern here. But here, let's talk about that for a second, because this is a big deal. $101 million, and it's not enough. And so when the insurance commissioner allowed Blue Cross Blue Shield to raise your rates 21% or 19%, you guys have gotten the memos. You guys have gotten the letters. You need to know that there's a perverse incentive. The government taxes those premiums at 2.5%. So if they get to raise them, then that is more money going to the government's coffers. So there's a perverse incentive where it's actually a good thing for Governor Hutchinson and his very, very weak budget for those premiums to increase, because he gets more money and can then really, honestly, if you look at his record, he's got more money to spend, and he will spend it, trust me. He will spend our money.
Spend every dime he gets.
That's exactly right. It's like that part in The Dark Knight The Dark Knight, where the Joker looks at the guy on the TV screen, the guy who's from China.
Who's really good with numbers.
He's really good. Calculations.
Yeah, calculations.
Really, and the Joker looks at him and he says, "This guy's going to squeal. I can promise you. The Batman will go to China, will find this guy, and he's going to talk." That's the way I feel about Asa. That guy right there, he's going to spend your money. It doesn't matter what he says, he's going to spend it.
And then you get the guy like the Joker, just burns it all. That's what Asa's been doing. He's just burning the cash. Burning all the money, except he's not actually burning it. He's spending it.
Question number 8. Where does Arkansas rank compared to other states on the insurance premium tax?
10th
on
highest.
Its insurance premium.
10th highest.
30th highest, 20th highest, 15th highest, or 10th highest. I think we're going to go with D on that one.
There's no way that we're down as low as 30 with 2.5%.
Yeah.
And 2.5% is me just going, we're taxing the most we can.
Yeah.
Off of everything.
And the law on that premium tax, it's for the privilege of doing business in the great state of Arkansas. That's what the law says.
And for the public safety.
And for the name of public safety.
In the name of public safety.
Question number 9. At what rate does Arkansas tax cigarettes? 55 cents per pack, 75 cents per pack, $1 or $1.15 per pack, and each pack has 20 cigarettes.
Now, something tells me this question is going to be counterintuitive to what the entire thing has been.
Really, you don't think it's the highest? You don't think it's $1.15?
Here's my reasoning. Out of all the things the government taxes in Arkansas, they tax a lot of good things like health insurance. Our health insurance premiums, food. They tax food. Well, they don't tax food. Excuse me.
I guarantee you it's the highest one.
Well, the reason why here's my reasoning. They tax all the things that are helpful towards just living and doing day-to-day things. Cigarettes are not very helpful for doing day-to-day things, so they would tax it the lowest.
Yeah, not when government money's involved.
Yeah, not when government's money is involved.
See, their morality is a shifting thing. I mean, they have one principle, and that is more money. And they can tell people now. I mean, they've demonized cigarette smokers to the point where that you put them in groups and you basically say you're subhuman. Yeah, it's a legal product, but we're not going to try to fight the battle of saying, you know what, maybe this should be illegal, which by the way, I'd be against because I think it's, you know what I'm saying, the libertarian in me. But you understand the point. But there's, apparently less and less smokers every year. More and more people you can still demonize them. The taxes can continue to go up. It's a sin tax. And then Senator Eddie Joe Williams actually put vaping into the tobacco laws because people are starting to switch from regular tobacco, and they're starting to use the vape stuff, and they want to regulate and tax that because why? The government depends on that $1.15 a package.
That's what I was going to say, is that a lot of people are switching from cigarettes to vaping.
So the government, what they do? They passed a law to make sure the government keeps their revenue. That's all they care about. And that just demonstrates how we must have a dramatic shift in mentality as to what our priorities are. Are they Arkansas businesses? Are they actual jobs created by the voluntary decisions of business owners because the government's off their back? Or is it going to – we are an incredibly poor state with an incredibly large government.
Absolutely.
And it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. Question number 10. You're going with D there, right? On 9. Okay, question 10. Last question. In fiscal year 2016, how much revenue did the state of Arkansas generate from the cigarette tax? $100 million, $120 million, $150 million, $170 million.
Trends continue, $170 million.
And keep in mind, I think Arkansas has one of the highest smoking rates in per capita. You have subscribed to the Conduit Fraction email list. They ask you that, and you live in the city of Jonesboro. So, Joe, what do we got here?
I don't want to see. What did I get? What did I get?
This is what we're going to do.
What did I get?
We're just going to say that you got 100%.
Yeah.
Because you did get 100%, even though I helped you on that one, and I think that's fantastic. Thank you, Joe. I think, that just is what it is.
Hashtag
we don't have
winning.
any booze at all.
Hashtag winning.
So to go over these real quick, think about this for a second. What is the state tax on the purchase of gasoline? 21.5 cents. How much do they make off of it? $438 million. What is the state sales tax exemption under Arkansas law? All of the above. They have an exemption on food and ingredients, food stamps, and hospitals and sanitariums. Number 4. How much did the sales tax exemption for sales to any hospital or sanitarium cost? $104 million. In fiscal year 2011, how much did the state sales tax exemption for purchases made with food stamps cost? $46 million. At what rate does the state of Arkansas tax insurance premiums? 2.5%. In fiscal year 2016, how much general revenue was generated from the insurance premium tax? $101 million. Where does Arkansas rank compared to other states on its insurance premium tax rate? We are the 10th highest in the country. Number 9, at what rate does Arkansas tax cigarettes? We tax them $1.15 a pack. And number 10, in fiscal year 2016, how much revenue did the state of Arkansas generate from the cigarette tax? The correct answer, $170 million. Joe, well, 100%, sir. Congratulations.
I'd like to quote somebody now.
Yes, who will you be quoting, my good man?
Quoting our president, our current president. This is the worst trade deal in the history of trade deals ever.
We're going to take a break. Folks, listen. You can listen to the podcast or video archives over at paulharrell.com. Support us on Patreon if you believe this program is of value. We're trying to spread the word, spread the truth about Arkansas politics. And for as little as $5 a month, you can get extra content. Our Wednesday weekly video has been released. We have a new video every week and only available to our Patreon subscribers. That's patreon.com/thephp. We'll be back in just a moment.
The Paul Harrell Program.
Do you need to advertise your business product or service, but not sure what the best choice is? Folks, allow me to introduce you to Talk Radio. You're listening to it right now. Talk radio is one of the most unique mediums in all of advertising because it actually works. It gets the information you want to the people you want to get it to. And by the way, those people are educated, well-informed decision makers of their household, and most of them have disposable income. If this is a target audience for your business, then you have to consider advertising on my show, The Paul Harrell Program. We have options for most any budget and can provide you with exciting opportunities to grow your business. We can put your message across the state, or we can help you locally. Call 870-275-9755 if you have any questions. That's 870-275-9755. 9755 or visit my website, paulharrell.com, and click on Advertise.
It's a PHP parody.
Hey, man, you got any of that marble rock?
Yeah, I've got the hookup.
Thanks. I need a fix real bad. I'm itching to grow some government.
How much you need?
I'm gonna need a taxpayer's dime bag.
No problem, sir. 1 taxpayer dime of marble rock. Enjoy.
Thanks, man. They don't call it Little Rock for nothing. Am I right?
Did you know your state representative or state senator may be addicted to growing government? The drug is called marble rock, and too much of it will cause marble fever. Watch for the warning signs. Does your legislator suddenly display a lack of humility when faced with basic questions? Does he or she suddenly develop hubris and pride that was not present during the campaign for office? These are signs they might be smoking the terrible drug, marble rock. The solution? Detox. Vote for detox. Vote to send them home for their own good. Warning! Some politicians once voted out of office will not go home and stay in Little Rock to get their fix by lobbying, also known as the Burris Syndrome.
PHP parody. The Paul Harrell Program.
Joe, I have bad news for you. This is not looking good. Not looking good at all. We've got John Nolte over at Breitbart. The headline is that it's a rigged merger. Rotten Tomatoes is protecting Time Warner's Justice League from awful movie reviews. So if you're a superhero fan and you're wanting this DC, like me, I'm a superhero fan and I'm wanting this terrible DC experiment with Batman and Wonder Woman, and I'm wanting it to die the death it deserves so they can start over and actually do justice to these characters.
Do justice
Pun
to the Justice League.
intended. John Nolte writes, for those wondering why the proposed AT&T Time Warner merger might not be such a good idea, look no further than the corrupting influence Time Warner is already having on Rotten Tomatoes when it comes to protecting Justice League from hideous reviews. So there's reviews out there, and they don't like them. Time Warner, of course, owns Warner Brothers and is a 30% shareholder in Fandango, which owns Rotten Tomatoes, the movie review website. Also an app on your phone. In other words, Time Warner is part owner of Rotten Tomatoes. And now we're being told to believe that the decision Rotten Tomatoes has made to not reveal the consensus movie review score for Warner's Justice League until early Thursday morning, which just happens to be the same day that the tent pole opens on over 4,000 movie screens, has absolutely nothing to do with corporate chicanery. Naturally, this transparent corruption has all been disguised as something else, as a big event surrounding the launch of the new Rotten Tomatoes Facebook show titled See It, Skip It, where the Justice League score will finally be revealed.
Can I say something real quick?
You think this report is inaccurate?
A little bit.
Okay. All right.
My only real reason behind this is I'm on IMDb right now, and it currently has an 8.3.
Okay.
On IMDb.
Okay, 8.3.
Which is fantastic.
Okay, let's talk about this. Vanity Fair. The film is plainly stated terrible. The Verge. It's just a pity they couldn't have consciously worked together to create a cohesive, coherent vision that merged their sensibilities thoroughly, instead of this back-and-forth tug-of-war that seems to be perpetually checking in with the audience. Is this what you want? How about this instead? Here's a review from The Guardian. In the end, though, there's something ponderous and cumbersome about Justice League. The great revelation is very laborious and solemn and tiresome. Post-credits sting is a microcosm of the film's disappointment. The Telegraph, 1-star review. Instead, it feels like a sheepish feature-length retraction of the franchise to date. Variety. The film is the definition of an adequate, high-spirited studio lark, no more. Collider. The bare bones story that we get lacks stakes because we don't really know most of these characters. Hollywood Reporter, fatigue, repetition, and a laborious approach to exposition are the keynotes of this affair. Entertainment Weekly, Affleck looks like the highest paid captive in a hostage video. I'm sorry, Joe. I'm sorry, my friend. I know you're still holding out hope, but I'm telling you, these DC characters are actually good as written in the comics. And Warner Bros. Has done a terrible job. I hope it's a flop.